Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what does it really mean to be a masculine man in today's world? Well, in this video, I break down 3 things that are keeping men from their true masculinity. This is a real conversation pulled from a live training that I did for men about this very topic. And it's also a great indicator to give you an inside scoop of what women actually look for in men, especially when it comes to choosing a man to be in romantic relationship with. If you're ready to drop into a conversation with curiosity, honesty, and gain a new perspective, watch this video now. And if you like what I'm saying, or maybe you don't agree with what I'm saying, drop your comments below. I can't wait to read them and enjoy the video. This is a talk about 3 things that stop men from being in their masculine energy, their masculinity, and also their confidence. And the world and women, of course, love a masculine man, loves a confident man. I wanted to talk about this because if you don't know me, I do have a YouTube channel, and a lot of content that I make is around a few different pillars, but one of them is definitely around fear and fear of rejection, fear of judgment. I talk a lot about that because I know men experience it, and it hinders them from, taking the leap of going into a relationship or asking a woman out or really jumping into dating. But it doesn't always have to be in that area in your life. It could be if you're starting a new career path, or, if you are if in fear or judgment around like your wife or the woman you're with judging you around, something. It could be, fear of the unknown, fear of being judged or rejected in the unknown. Like it could be really something you want to do, but you're scared to do it because you don't want to experience rejection or judgment. And I always say, men who are in their true healthy masculine, they don't care about being disliked. They'd rather speak their truth instead of compromise their integrity to themselves around their truth, around what they want to do in life. And so that's the first key. That's the first thing that I've noticed a lot that stops men from stepping in their masculinity at 100% full throttle. And also, it doesn't build confidence when you are constantly going through life being afraid of rejection, being afraid of that somebody's going to judge you if you do X, Y, and Z, or if you talk to this woman or whatever. So, you know, what I say to men on my channel, what I've said to men behind the scenes, coaching them, actually working with a client, um, and encouraging him to empower himself and continue to take the steps and the next action to go into his new career path, which he's creating and building, um, along with my support now. And I gave him a challenge this week for his homework, and we'll see if he does it. But sometimes those type of things can stop you from doing what you really want to do and standing in your masculinity unapologetically because you're afraid that someone's going to say something, that someone's going to judge you. And look, we all feel that. Some men on my channel have come to me like, "What do you know about rejection? You're a beautiful woman." And like, I'm like, that has nothing to do with anything. We're living in the human experience. We're all going to be up against that. And I don't even like to look at it as rejection. I say that word because people can connect with that word really quickly in like a video, but it's all feedback. And feedback can just allow you to take the next step, to course correct, to learn something new that you didn't realize, right? To have a new breakthrough, a new realization, to have a new awareness about something. So
I always like to look at rejection or like judgment as it's just feedback. And sometimes when somebody is judging you, that's their stuff. That's them projecting their stuff onto you if they're judging you at all. So you don't have to worry about that because it's none of your business about what they think about you. And a man who stands in their masculinity knows that and owns that. And so that allows him to be in his masculine energy unapologetically and keep building his life from that healthy energy because there's nothing wrong with that. Like I encourage all the men out there, like if you are fearing rejection right now or you're in fear around the unknown or you don't want to be judged, maybe you can nudge yourself to do the thing instead, to be the thing, to ask the woman out, to, take that next step and do something that you've always wanted to do that you've never done before, and then see what happens on the other side, right? If you approach a woman and she turns you down, again, take it as feedback. Okay, I liked her, but obviously she doesn't see the alignment. So that's okay. There's 8 billion people in this world. Like, there's other women to talk to, there's other women to pursue, there's other women to date, right? Until you meet your queen. And the second thing I noticed that stops men, which is interesting because I feel like as a society, this has had some influence on a boy, going into manhood. And one book that I love that drives this conversation home that I recommend that you get is one of my favorite books. I don't know if you can see it, but it's The King, the Warrior, the Magician, and the Lover. And the third point I'm making here that stops men from stepping into their masculinity fully or stepping into their confidence is they were never initiated into manhood in a healthy way. Maybe you were raised in a home where your father was really like aggressive and controlling. And so that was your example of masculinity being modeled to you. And I love because they say in this book that masculinity actually isn't inherently or naturally hostile or violent. So we know that this buzzword that's been dropped so much in the last few years, toxic masculinity, is a myth. It isn't true because masculinity isn't inherently toxic. Maybe there's some wounds there. There's been a lot of wounds there, and wounds that go back deep, maybe into even your family line ancestors that are being played out right through men, but it's just an unhealthy wound or a trauma. Masculinity isn't healthy, but not being initiated in a healthy environment into manhood can definitely affect and stop a man from owning his masculinity, from even knowing what that is for him. For you know it can stop his confidence out in the world, and we see that today, right? Or it can go the other way. Maybe you were in a household where you weren't, your needs weren't being met in some way. And so you felt safe being more like quiet, docile, like um, not saying anything because that's how you felt safe, right? As a child. Or maybe you were in a family dynamic where there wasn't a masculine man around or healthy model, a healthy example of that. And so you really took on more of like a feminine dynamic to be more nice and passive because your needs weren't being met. So you weren't initiated into what healthy manhood and masculinity can be and looks like in and can and shown how it can be expressed in the world. And it's interesting because in this book, again, they mention how like tribes and indigenous folks, obviously we know that in like Africa, South America, and the, South Pacific Islands, initiate and have a healthy ritual process to take a boy from being a boy to a man. And they talk about the two things that are important and essential for this ritual process to happen, to initiate a boy into a man, to have him come into his healthy masculine, is you have to have two things. You have to have a wise elder, either a man or a woman, but an elder who is wise that can facilitate this initiate safely and intact to the other side of, to that transformation of being a man. And also, the other essential thing that has to be in place is a sacred space, a space that is safe and sacred for this boy who's being initiated to come into manhood. And they make a point in this book that our culture, our society now doesn't have those things. When a man wants to initiate himself, maybe into manhood, he may go into the military, he may end up in jail. He may go to a gang because he's not getting that uh, family love and that help, that model of what a man is supposed to be in his environment. But we all know jail and definitely gangs aren't healthy ways to initiate men into masculinity, men, boys into manhood. And the military, yes, can do that, but they use the tactics of kind of like fear and control to help push a man into manhood and masculinity, as opposed to like a ritual process that indigenous and tribes do around the world to facilitate this, to have that man, that boy transform into a man and come out on the other side in a healthy way, uncomfortable maybe, but it's a healthier ritual process. And so that's the second thing I've definitely observed that can stop a man from fully embracing his masculinity, and hence it's connected to his confidence because he wasn't correctly initiated into manhood, right? You might have to do that for yourself, and if somebody wasn't leading you like an elder, maybe you're not fully there, which is fine. This is why I'm always a stand for men being in community around uh being in places that show healthy masculinity, like a community of men that could show you that and give you an example of that. And the third thing is is important, and I talk about this a lot too in my content, and I want to drive it home here because I know it's kind of become a buzzword as well. But I really believe this because I have experiences of when I was younger being with men like this, and also I have watched some people in my life like go through this, and that's the Mr. Nice Guy syndrome or the people pleaser, excuse me. And a lot of us go through this, not just men, but I've seen and I've made content about this on my channel, that when men like stay in that place of being a people pleaser, being a Mr. Nice Guy, it's taking you away from your masculinity because one, you're not setting healthy boundaries. You are compromising the integrity with your truth and your word to be liked, right? At any cost, at any means necessary. And that could also create a lot of resentment within you that obviously you're not going to talk about. You may stuff it down because you want to be liked. And it's also keeping you out of living a life that you want and being in a fulfilling romantic relationship, for example. Because if you're dating a woman or in a relationship with a woman and you can't stand your ground in a grounded and healthy way, or you can't speak your truth, or you're afraid to say something and you're walking on eggshells, or you feel like you can never say no because you're afraid that this woman is going to break up with you, she's going to dump you, she's going to be highly disappointed and make a scene, or you feel like you can't say anything because you're going to be attacked. So you would rather not lean into the tension and have a healthy debate, or maybe even go into an argument and see where it takes you. You'd rather not say anything. Well, then that's going to stop you from being the man that you really want to be. Like, is anybody healthy? Is any man out there healthy when they people please, when they try to be a savior, when they try to be so nice that they're willing to compromise what they want or what they stand for in exchange to have people like them? No. And it can come off as very fake and very manipulative, even if you're not aware of it, because you're just trying to get, one big reason is you're just trying to get your needs met. You're just trying to get that love and affection, admiration, and approval and validation because maybe you never got it in your childhood. It always can go back to the inner child, what he's not receiving now, and also go back to like our childhood wounds and trauma. And I know sometimes when I say this, or when I make videos more on like the psychology and the shadow work around this and how it can affect men in their relationships, it's not always the videos that get the most views, but it can definitely start an interesting conversation. But I feel like this is sometimes men don't feel safe enough to talk about this, or it's they still want to keep it hidden instead of moving forward, or they want to do it all on their own instead of having an honest conversation with themselves and maybe online or with people in their lives, or somebody else supporting them like a therapist or a coach that could help them be initiated right into their healthy masculinity. And like I said, healthy masculinity is all about not just being grounded and being, so wrapped up in your emotions that you can't function. It's definitely about standing firm in your ground and your standards and what you will and will not accept, but also being able to express yourself, speak your truth, speak your emotion, but not be afraid to do that for the sake of saving a friendship, a business partnership, a lovership, relationship, romantic, or platonic. No man should have to put themselves through that to be accepted and approved. You want to validate and approve yourself first and love yourself first. And and it shows how worthy you think you are, right? If you have to compromise yourself to be loved, to be liked. And that really stops a man from being confident enough to do something different, to embrace his masculinity, to reclaim it and own it, and live life and create life from that place. And so if you're struggling with this, or you have some friends in your life or a family member that's a guy, that's a man, or maybe you're a woman watching this and the man you're with or been in your life are struggling with this, I have a free confidence audio training that it just came out like a week or two ago. I'm going to drop the link in the comments so you can share that link with them. It's free, download it. It's all about the 5 mistakes that men make with women that they may be unaware of, and what they can do instead. It's not just about telling a man, oh, you do this wrong and whatever, right? I never talk to men like that in my content. It's all about, if you're doing this, maybe this will work better, right? Or if you're unhappy with this, you can do this instead and try that out and see what happens. And so this is my first time streaming from Zoom to Facebook. There'll be more of these. Oh, I see James popped in. I think I can't really see the comments in here because I have like two screens up, which is funny. So I'm gonna have to learn how to navigate that. Um, but I hope this, I don't hope, I know this supported you in some way. I know these three things supported you. And if it didn't, but it may support a man in your life, send them the link, send it to them. Send them the confidence training. I'm going to drop it here in the comments now. It's free. You just put your name and email address in and you download, and then you listen to it. It's an audio training, so you can listen to it while you're on your way to work, while you're working out, whatever. It's not really that long. Enjoy it. I'll see you on here soon. It feels so good to return back here live. And I'll find out how I can engage in the comments because I love doing that. I love seeing when people come on here live and engaging with them, especially if you have any questions. And, if you want to move further and deeper with me, you can DM me and we can talk about that because I am open to take on more one-on-one coaching clients as well. But until next time, have fun with that free confidence audio training, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Ciao.